Hello, I am Victor Paredes and I want to show you some of the new options for particles coming with Moho 14.4 SideQuest. So I'm going to start with a circle, okay? Black circle here, I'm going to draw it here in the middle and I'm going to call this layer circle, okay? So we are starting the tutorial with very clear naming rules here. And I can create a particle layer here and put the circle inside, and that will generate these particles, okay? Nothing new here so far. Now, there is an option in particle layers that if I create another vector layer, I will call this base, okay? And let's say I'm going to create a rectangle, maybe a gray rectangle. I will put it here, maybe rotate it a bit there. If I put this rectangle at the bottom, inside of the particle, but at the bottom, now I get this, which is normal, like now the particle is drawing the circle and the rectangle. But if I select the particle layer and I go to the particle options here with the particle tool, I can set the base layer as source, okay? And now what happens is that the particles are going to start their life from the rectangle, okay? That is the base now, okay? So if let me show you here, if I modify the rectangle, I'm going to put it somewhere else. You can see how the particles are actually following the rectangle here. So, or I can put another one, and now I have two sources of particles here. Okay, and this is how it worked in the past. Actually, we have a better preview of this in Moho 14.4, but the option always existed in the past. What is new is that now, if I remove the rectangles, and instead of creating a rectangle, I create a line here, or more than one line. Now you can see the particles are actually being born from those lines, okay? So I don't need to have a fill. So now I hit play and you can see how the particles are being born from that line, okay? Now, they are being thrown and controlled by several forces, so we are going to reduce those forces just to show you better how this is working. So again, I'm going to select the particle layer, go to the particle layer tool, and I'm going to set the depth to 0, the velocity to 0, the spread and the rate to 0. So now you can see the particles are actually being born right in the middle of the line. It doesn't look like they are doing, but actually each of the particles, the lifetime is 48 frames, around 2 seconds. So every 2 seconds a particle dies and a new particle is born in this system. But I'm going to set the lifetime to 0 here, okay? When I set this to 0, it means the particles are going to live forever. So I have these 50 particles and they are going to living forever in this particle layer. So now let me show you what happens when I move the base. The particles are also moving here. Okay, let me just remove this extra line. Now let's say we animate this particle, okay? And what I'm going to do is the particles are pointing to the right. So I want to scale this particle. So I'm going to scale it to the right here, like that. Sorry, I'm going to frame 13, scale it here. I'm going to reduce the curvature here to simulate like some kind of squash and stretch there. Now I'm going to copy and paste this keyframe here and here, and I'm going to create a cycle for this. Okay, right click here, cycle. Now I have this animation. Okay, so now if I go back to the particle layer, you can see how this animation is happening on the line, and it is following the curvature of this line. So if I put it here, you can see how the particles are doing that, okay? Which can be cool, but it's a bit boring because all the particles are moving at the same time. So what I can do is I can select the particle layer again, go to the particle options, and we have a new option here that is particle delay. And with this, I can set a delay of frames. So every particle moves 1 frame after the other, okay? Or 2 frames after the other if I modify that. So I start to get like this wavy movement with the particles, okay? So you can modify that, and of course if you add more particles, the wave is going to be different depending on how many particles you have, because one particle is going to be moving one frame after the other, or 2 or 4 frames after the other. You can decide that. Okay. In this case, the particles are following the curvature of the shape, but if you don't want that to happen, you can turn off orient particles, and now all the particles are just pointing to the right, in the same way I animated them. Okay? But I want to orient the particles here. Now let me show you something else. If I go back to the circle here, and I change the color, let's say here I want the color to become blue, and here maybe it will become green, and then it will be black again. Okay, and black in the frame 1, 2. I'm going to create a cycle for this. Now I have this, and if I go back to the particle layer, I can see the colors also animated. Another thing that this new option makes is that I can animate this line in any way I want, so I can modify the position of the points and the curvature. So now I have this animation happening on the particle, and actually I'm going to add an extra point here just to show you. So I have 3 points now on this line, and I can modify the position, the curvature, but I can also modify the line width. So if I increase the line width of this point, the particles close to that point are going to become bigger or smaller depending of the thickness. So maybe I want this to start and end smaller but become bigger. So now I have this. Or I can just rotate these particles like that. Okay, I'm not sure about what I am doing, but yeah, here you have this now. All right, so you can play with this. I have a file here created by Pierre Gombeau. Let me just show it to you. So in this case, he's using 3 different particles. This is one of them. It's a blue rectangle growing in different ways. Then it has the same animation, a second particle with the same animation but a different color. And the same for the third one, a different color here. So now you can see all these rectangles moving here in the particles. And actually I can show you the base of this, and you can see how the base are actually 4 different lines organized, so they appear to be together. But this is what is happening here. Okay, I also made a modification of this file. So instead of using 3 particles, I just took one of them and changed the color during the animation, and then applied that to a single line. You can do this. Okay, so this is with the delay, and you can also create other kind of animation. Let's say you want to rotate also the layer. So I can let me just show you here. I can rotate this layer to the right, sorry, to the left and to the right now, and then back to the left. And I'm going to create a cycle with that. So now the particles are also rotating there. You see? So you can create some very cool stuff. And not only that, like if you are creating something like hair, you could have some hair created with this particle. So you could use brushes and stuff like that, and you could have like a lion with the hair moving by the wind or stuff like that. It can be very powerful. Now, let me just go back to my other example here. And actually, I'm going to just rotate this back to the original position here, and I'm going to reset the line width for all of the points. Okay. So now I'm going to remove the color animation I have. Okay, so I only have this now. It's all black again. And I'm going to duplicate the circle 2 times. Okay, and I'm going to paint the first one, let's say kind of yellow. The second one is going to be a bit orange like that, and the third one is going to be red. Okay, so now if I go back, these are not the best colors to show, but you can see how these colors are being shown here. I have 3 particles now. These 3 particles are distributed across the line, but you can see that they are distributed randomly. So you see, like, for instance, here we have several yellow circles together, then we have a couple oranges, and then yellow again, and then one red, but this is not very tidy, yes, you know. So a new option we have in the particles is that you have the option to emit particles in order. So if I click this one, you can see now how the order of the layers is respected here on the particles. So I start with yellow, and then yellow, orange, and then red, and that cycle repeats across the distribution. So now I got this. Okay, so we can be more specific with this. Let's say I create the number 1, then in this layer is the number 2, sorry, 2, and this layer is the number 3. Oops, there. Okay, so now I have too many particles, but there is number 1, 2, and 3 here. Let me actually reduce the amount of particles and you will see it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There you have it. So let me just move the base here. So you can see how the particles are repeated. And if I change this order, actually 1 is on top, 2 is in the middle, and 3 is at the bottom. Now you can see how these numbers are in order here. Okay, so yeah, there are many things to do, way more exciting than putting numbers into the particles, but yeah, it's some cool new features coming with the particles. I hope you enjoy it. Bye.